What is up, YouTube family? This is Mike G, and you are back on the other side. Tonight, I have the pleasure of bringing you an interview with the most famous cut man in the business, the one and only Stitch Duran. Stitch, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, what's going on, Mike? Good seeing you. Thanks for having me on. I love your
Oh,
shirt.
oh, thank you. Yeah, the greatest ever. There, no one's even close.
Right.
Um, how in the hell does someone become a cut man?
I think by necessity. I had my own school of kickboxing, so I come
Hmm.
from a kickboxing background. And I was a trainer before I was a cut man, and I learned to be a cut man to just involve everything, and plus economics. But yeah, that's how I started being a cut man is through my kickboxing school, and that progressed, and I moved to Vegas. Shit, going on almost 30 years ago to follow my dreams and become a cut man. I didn't even come to be a trainer, but when I got here, uh, I saw what everybody did, and that's shit. I could do that, So I started doing pads for guys, and they would hire me, but I had a job, so I would go in and out. So I could never be a full time trainer, but being a cut man on weekends, yeah, kind of second nature.
Did some of it start from just having to help friends out that were bleeding?
Well, yeah, my fighters, that's that was the thing is my fighters. I had some world class fighters, and everybody because they're using the elbows and all that. That's where I got my experience. When I moved to Vegas, people say, "Who the hell's this guy? Where did he get his experience?" But I called kickboxing like the minor leagues of cutmen because there's plenty of work there, and when I got to boxing, it was second nature at that time.
Gotcha. Now, most people recognize your face. Everyone knows the name Stitch. How
Yeah.
did that name come about?
Well, it was one of my fighters actually. I used to work with Dennis Alexia at that time was the best athlete I ever met in my whole life. He was
Hmm.
a world champ kickboxer, and I think light heavyweight and cruiserweight and heavyweight. So I was working with him and his sparring partner. Now, Dennis Alexia is the brother in the movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme, kickboxer, the guy,
Hmm.
the brother in the wheelchair. He's an
Okay.
great athlete. Well, his sparring partner was David Rooney, and they both fought in Vallejo, California, Fairfield. And David got a cut. And at that time, I was learning to be a cut man, and
Sure.
only by observation. And I would see guys get the tape and cut them little strips and then butterfly. So that's what I
Hmm.
did with David. And he said, "Man, I don't have to go to the hospital. You save me some stitches. We'll call you Stitch." And that's where the name came. And I laugh about it, but I don't even know if David knows how much he changed my life just by giving me that compliment and that quote.
Did
Yeah,
it catch on immediately, or did it take a little while?
yeah. Everything. Yeah, it's a growing thing. When nicknames you don't give them to yourself, they're earned, and that's
Right.
you're taking that right. But within the kickboxing industry, yeah, I was already getting the name of Stitch pretty good. So.
What what are the would you say are the best criteria for someone who's wanting to be a cut man? What are the special skills or tools involved?
Composure, number one. That's number one because you get over there and your hands are shaking and you're working on the fighter, and he's going to feed off of that. But knowing your medications and knowing the proper use of everything, the Enswell and everything. As a matter of fact, I'll let you know now. Because people are always asking me to do seminars to teach, and that's my whole passion is to educate and teach.
Okay.
I can't do seminars all the time. I mean, I've done in Mexico City and Guanajuato and in Germany and Athens, but it takes too much time. So I just put a video out a couple weeks ago at stitchduran.com. Man, it shows you everything that I do as a cut man, from wrapping the hands to working the swellings to the cuts and everything. So the way I look at it, Mike G, is it's only $50. That's nothing, right? I do
Hmm.
it not to make money off of it, for everybody to learn how to take care of these fighters, because none of us in our positions, uh, cutmen and coaches, none of us, even at the high level, none of us have to be certified to be called pros. So in doing that, how can I educate these guys? Is at least
Sure.
put the video out, and if you want to rent on the piece on wrapping hands, it's only $10. So it's not to make money, bro. It's just to go get out there and everybody should, even the fans should look at it and just see what goes on behind the scenes and working with fighters. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
How does a cut man get hired for a fight? Are you hired by the commission, the fighter, the promotion? How does that work?
Yeah, for the most part, good question. For the most part, the fighter will hire you in boxing. All right,
Okay.
the fighter will hire you. When I was with the UFC, Dana White was smart enough to bring me and Leon Tabs in as house cutmen because at that time MMA guys didn't know how to wrap hands, they didn't know how to work cuts, so they brought Leon and myself in, and from there, the promotion brought us in. Well, when COVID kicked in. I live 20 minutes from the MGM here in Las Vegas. Top Rank called and they were going to do 16 shows in the bubble at the MGM. And there were ESPN fights. So when nobody was working, so I took the opportunity and the money was good and they liked the program so much that they kept us. So both. So I do work for the promotion and I do work for Fighters Independent. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. We see fighters walking to the cage, to the ring, stepping into the prep point where they meet you. What all are you doing with them, and what all are you looking for?
Yeah, well, during the days like this of the UFC, when they would come to us, I think BJ Penn fought George St. Pierre, and there was some Vaseline on one of the guys' bodies and made it hard for them to grapple. And so Burt Watson, which was our coordinator, instructed us to only put Vaseline on the cheeks and on the eyebrows because those are your points of cuts anyway.
Sure.
And but when they come, that's what I do. But I try to give them those final points of confidence. You go out there, don't worry, I'm gonna take care of you. I love you,
Right.
so, and so those are very, very special moments.
I'm assuming just as much as anyone, it's your job to help put the fighter in the best position to win.
100%. My only job is my only job is take care of them.
Right.
But to minimize any disadvantages that he could have through injuries. And so that's my job,
Gotcha.
is to make sure that he's okay. And there's one guy I stopped the fight because I just saw that he was taking what I consider long-term damage. He was getting hit here and shit's coming out here. So the doctors are talking and I go to him during the break and I'm working on him and I whisper. I said, the doctors are thinking of stopping the fight. Do you want to continue? And he just real small says a no. And enough for me to say, no more. And the coaches didn't know. One more round. I said, nope. Once he says no, then that's it. The next day, his wife and him called me about 8 in the morning and thanked me. And he just says, I had nothing. But I saw him. I worked with David Benavides a month ago here in Las Vegas, and I hadn't seen him since then. And man, he comes, man, I love you, man. This is because of you. I got a good job and this and that. So he was real positive, but those are those special moments.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the specific tools you use and what they do and their purpose.
Yeah, well, by the video. No, I'm just kidding. No, the end swell, the KO swell. Let me see. Hold on. Give me a second. I'll show you. Hold on.
You have your own brand, don't you, or your own model?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah. Give me a second. Check out
Take
my medicine bag. That was given to me by Cutman for Hire Supplies, Juan Ramirez.
Nice.
And so this, and I'll just kind of show you. So yeah, you gotta market yourself, and you gotta take advantage of these opportunities. But more education. So when I was coming back from London in the UFC, I was with Kenny Florian and Burt Watson. We're at the airport and we're sitting there waiting, and you get the water bottle, and I kind of did this, and it's kind of, you look at it, it's contoured, right? Very simple. So I came home, I got some clay, I made a prototype, and I made the KO swab because the ones before were all flat. So, but if you look, these areas and these areas are contoured. So I went home, check this out, bro. So see how it's curved on one side? It fits right in there perfect, and if you need it, on the flat side, just use the other side.
Okay.
So that's one of the actually, it's really that and the ice pack are about the only, and the Vaseline are about the only three things you could use during the fight. Now,
Gotcha.
the medication, the adrenaline chloride 1000, that's the
Hmm.
basic foundation or adrenaline used worldwide. That is a vessel constrictor. So I
Okay.
always ask I try to educate these young fighters. And I said, look, if you're looking for a cut man, ask him this question. Well, what does the adrenaline chloride 1000 do? And if the guy tells you, and a lot of them do, bro, ask them, what does the adrenaline chloride 1000 do? If they tell you it's a coagulant, I tell these young fighters, get another fighter or get another cut man. That's wrong answer. If he puts a swab in his mouth or his ear, get another cut man. That's garbage. The adrenaline chloride is a vessel constrictor. So
Okay.
when you see me working on cuts, what I'll do is I'll squeeze it, the cut,
Hmm.
I'll help it, because blood coagulates itself. But now
Yeah.
I let those little veins, I'll squeeze and I'll take the blood out of there. And when I put the wet swab, it absorbs into the veins and it closes
Okay.
it. That's the mechanics. So simple education like that. But fighters don't know and cutmen don't know.
Tell me about Quick Aid. That's something that I had never heard of before, and I'm not. I understand what the word dehydrate means,
Yeah.
but is it take liquid blood and just turn it into like a powder?
Yeah, Quick Aid, I introduced it. And I always had companies when I was at UFC that would send me products. And I had to be careful when I used it and how I used it because I'm at the defense of the fighter.
Right.
I could change his career. So I've always had a plan B right behind it. But Quick Aid is it's a pad, it's a gauze pad, 2x2, and it's made out of a seaweed base. So it's 100%
Okay.
natural. So it doesn't require a prescription at all. And so of course I got it. And what you do is you clean out the cut as you do, you squeeze, you clean. Then you'll put it in there for about 45 seconds. But it does, like I said, it draws the liquid into the pad and it dehydrates it. It works great. I'll tell that because the adrenaline chloride for the most part, it's going to cost you about $300 a bottle. It used to be like $25. Somehow the prices went up. But Quick Aid is, you don't have to be highly qualified. All you got to do is clean it and put it for about 40, 45 seconds in it. It works tremendously. I use it whenever I have a back cut. I'll use the adrenaline and then I'll fill it in with the Quick Aid just to get the residual blood that is still leaking to get a double positive. So,
Okay.
Nobody's ever asked that question. I'm glad you did.
Awesome.
You're doing your homework.
I try. I try not to be terrible. I'm very new at this. You are my 13th interview ever, so I'm brand new.
Yeah.
Take me into the mindset in between rounds when a guy's really hurt, when you're trying to pump him up. Do you have a specific process that you go through with him, like a pattern or a template, or is it just whatever happens in that moment?
Yeah, it's a good question. Again, I like this interview. Knowing psychology is not a gift, or it is a gift. It's not. You don't learn through the books. You have to go through the process to understand where these guys are at, mentally and physically, right? And I guess Lyoto Machida said it best is when he fought Rashad Evans, when he beat Rashad for the world title with Lyoto, right? But if you remember, his father's very Japanese, very shogunist, very proud Japanese.
Yeah.
I went to the dressing room after the fight to congratulate him. And Lyoto, in front of his father, says, "Steve, in the ring, you are my father." And his father just kind of agreed, but I understand. So that's the approach I take with these guys. I'm like, look, I'm going to take you like you're my son. I'm not going to let nothing happen to you. And but come during those little moments, I'm only good for one word or two words.
Right.
I just worked. I was at Top Rank Gym the other day, and Lulu, young world champion female boxer from Australia, was training there, and we talked, and she goes, "Yes, I remember when I fought, you just says, change your rhythm." That's all you said. And I did, But those, you can't be that guy to give them 150 instructions in a 50-second span, right? You just can't do that.
Yeah. What there's lots of different facial injuries that happen in a fight. What would you say is the hardest one to fix or get control of? Would it be the big one right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who probably had the worst middle of the forehead cut of anyone you've had to try and close up?
Well, well, the worst had to be Badu Jack because the cut was about that big. I didn't
Yeah.
work that. I worked with him after that fight, right?
Okay.
But I worked with Forrest Griffin when he fought Shogun. I
Mm-hmm.
worked Vladimir Klitschko when he fought DeVero Williamson, and I worked with Jay Haran when he fought Jonathan Goulet.
Oh.
That one was the bloodiest. And Jay Haran, he's so proud of that event because I call it the bloodiest fight I ever worked. And it was so bloody that they both had blood top of the head and bottom of the face. But it was so bloody that I got nauseated with the smell of the iron. And
Oh.
happened before, So yeah, Jay, and then that mat is at Randy Couture's gym. So that but
Is that the one and only time the bloods made you a little queasy?
The only time there was so much blood, bro. There was a lot of blood there, and I was just reading about John Jones, and his only loss was to Matt Hamill. Well, I worked that fight with Matt Hamill, but I remember Matt Hamill was down on the ground, and his eyes were closed, and all the eyes, it was just a puddle of blood on both of them, and literally I had to soak it out, and that's because he took that 12-6, and he cut him right there, and he's down like this, just flooded his eyeballs.
Yeah.
So.
Did you see Matt's tweet or post recently since they changed the rule?
Matt
Hamill.
To do a rematch or something like that.
he offered to come back to the UFC to do a rematch for the title, and if he wins, he wants the belt. I don't think that's gonna happen. Matt.
Those days are done, bro, But it was good, during that golden era, as Dan Hardy called it, best fighters ever, man. You guys
were I agree with you.
With every one of them, that's the thing.
I believe that I could sit here and listen to you for weeks, man.
Yeah, no, it's a blast.
Share a particular time with us that you were extremely proud in the ring. Maybe a moment that meant a lot to you that stands out.
Man, there's been so many. I think my coming out fight with here in Vegas with Raul Marquez, he was defending his IBF, I think, middleweight title.
Okay.
And this was an Oscar De La Hoya fought Hector Macho Camacho. Raul ended my first coming out fight. Raul had 5 cuts, boom, boom, something like 70 stitches. And I kept him in the game, and people came up to me and they acknowledged that, who is this guy? But I had my experience through kickboxing. So when I came to Vegas, I already knew how to work on cuts. They just didn't know who I was until that moment. So that was a life-changing moment for me.
Gotcha. If you're watching a fight,
well, I'll throw you one more now. And you're talking about these cuts, but Vladimir Klitschko, when first time I worked with him, going back to December the 12th, 1992, we took a team of professional boxers and kickboxers to Kiev to fight the Ukrainians. That's when the Soviet Union first broke.
Mm-hmm.
So the Ukrainians are independent, and the way I understood it is the KGB agents kept all this money, so they promoted the first professional fights in Ukraine. Well, the Klitschkos were young kids there, but they were stars. So going fast forward, I did the movie Ocean's 11 with them, and then from there, Vladimir told Emmanuel Stewart that he wanted the guy that was his cutman in the movie to work with him in his first fight coming back from losing his world title. And so I did. But in that fight, he got that one cut we talk about, right? And I've done those twice already. And so I knew, but I look at percentages. So he had won the first 3 rounds. Didn't look great, but he won them. On the 4th round, DeVero Williamson drops it. And he's still ahead by 1 point, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the 5th round, he gets that unintentional headbutt. So when he sits down, I tell him and his brother, I said, and I could have worked on it, but on percentage-wise, the best time for me to have stopped that fight was right then and there because of the odds, right? Because it could have got worse. So when the doctor came, she says, "What do you think?" Well, first I tell Vitaly and Vladimir Emmanuel's on the other side. He didn't hear it because I'm whispering. I said, "Look, you got a back cut. You're winning the fight. I'm gonna have the doctor stop the fight." So when the doctor came, I've worked with her many, many times in the years. Mm-hmm. She goes, "What do you think, Stitch?" I go like this, and I opened it, and she stopped the fight. Went to the scorecards. He ended up winning the fight and then became world champion for 8 years. And then Jay Nagin referee. A couple shows down the road, he comes up to me and says, "Stitch, come here, come here. Did you do what I thought you did? Did you open up that cut in front of Dr. Whitman?" I did, because that was ingenious. But that was, yeah, that was it.
That's a great story.
Yeah,
When you
let me finish it this way now.
okay,
The last time I worked with Vladimir, that was the first time I worked with him. The last time I worked with him after 8 years, he was a champ, right? And he was fighting Anthony Joshua in Wembley Stadium, 90,000 crazy Brits. Fabulous. And I hadn't seen him until Friday at the weigh-ins because my daughter had gotten married Wednesday in Crete. So I flew in Thursday night. So I'm talking to him in Vitaly, and finally I tell Vladimir at the end, "Let's look, put my hand on his shoulder. Don't worry about nothing. I'm going to take care of you tomorrow. I kill my son." And I leave because I know they can't sleep. And he's a badass. You guys are Russians, man. You know, they're mentally a little different. But I put the final Vaseline on him the following day, right before Michael Buffer does the announcement in front of all of these people. And he says, he's this far away. He says, "You could call me son." Oh, that was how we ended our legacy. And I hadn't seen, the last time I saw him was like 3 months later in Germany. And I asked him that one question, "Vladimir, why?" He says, "Stitch," that's all I asked, "why?" "Stitch, there's very few people I trust in my life. You are one of them." Bro, that says it all.
That's awesome, man. I can feel that.
Yeah. No, you don't think I felt the shit? You know, Daddy, he called me after, "Daddy."
I can't imagine when you're watching a fight. Are you able to separate the cut man watching the fight? Like if you're at home watching the fights on TV, are you able to watch it as a fan, or do you find yourself watching it as a cut man?
Both. Yeah,
Both.
you know, it's nice to, but I always study the corners. Even my kids study the corners. And they'll tell me, "Dad, so-and-so," they'll send me text, "Dad, this person so-and-so." They know the game. They know what's right, what's wrong. And says, I know one of them said, "Dad, this guy's using his thumb to push that swelling. Looked like he was pushing it into his eyeball," you know, stuff like that. So, but I do both. You know, I always study the corners because there's so many mistakes still being done. And it's not fair.
Yeah. If you could tell us maybe about a couple fights that you cornered that you consider the most special, the most memorable. I know you'd mentioned Klitschko and then your first fight when you were starting out. What are maybe a couple other fights that fans will say, "Oh, I know who that is"?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Chuck Liddell and Vanderlei Silva. You know,
Okay.
I had Vanderlei and the Brazilians, when I used to go to Japan for Pride with Josh Barnett, they gave me the nickname Santana, Carlos Santana, right?
Yeah.
So so we became friends. So Vladimir or Vanderlei was fighting Chuck Liddell. It was my birthday, December the 29th, at the MGM here in Vegas. So I saw Vanderlei about a week before. "Hey, man, I want to give you good karma." The mental thing, good karma. This is my birthday, man. I'll give you good karma. So I leave, and I'm working Chuck's corner, and it's one of my top 3 fights ever, man. These guys are cracking each other. You just hear them crack and crack.
Yes.
Chuck gets cut, and at the end of the fight, I clean him up, and I go check on Vanderlei, and Leon Tabs is working on him, and he's all swollen. You know, I say, "Hey, Vanderlei, how you feeling?" Looks at me, "Steve, no, I'm okay. I'm okay." And right in the minute after this, bro, he says, "Steve, happy birthday." I said, "Man," you know, it's crazy. The guy's the hardest fight of his life, and he goes and does that. You know, and even Keith Jardine's father, big old burly man, looked like the Brownie man. Literally big man. When I think he beat Chuck Liddell, and I have to go run to the back to get something, and the father's crying. He has tears in his eyes, man. I said, "Hey, man, congratulations. You know, what a feeling." So I got to see that, you know, and so yeah, I mean, tons of stories, bro. We gotta sit down and just, you know, shoot the shit down, you know, hours.
Anytime you want, man. Chuck was actually the third person to grant me an interview. He is an amazing guy. I couldn't believe how much fun I had interviewing him. Just beyond belief how nice a guy he is.
Yeah, you know, I was talking about him and John Hackelman the other day, his coach.
He too.
Every time I worked with him, they would always call me and thank me. You know, that was special.
Yeah.
simple things like that. But yeah, Chuck's kind of guy. Shit, I look at him like this. I'm still scared of him. You know, he's that kind of guy, right? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
so
I agree.
yeah, yeah. But there's been fights where the guys that got knocked out so bad that I have to tell them like 3 times. Drago beats out when he got knocked out by Matt Brown. He's
Hmm.
arguing with the referee and the doctor. No, I'm okay. I'm okay. No, no, no. And I come up to him. I said, Drago, look at me. Listen, you got knocked out. He said, Stitch, I believe. I thought that was pretty cool, man. Yeah.
How
Stitch, I
many
believe.
different accents can you say your nickname in? Because you've had about 3 or 4 different accents so far. You
So I
talked
have
about the Russians, and you've used their accent to say Stitch.
Stitch. I'm gonna show him. Yeah, Sawadika, Sabadi, Bonjour, bro, and Konnichiwa, bro. Guten Tag. And, yeah.
What fighter have you had the most special or close relationship with? Would it be Klitschko?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
both brothers. You know,
Okay.
it just, yeah, they were just special people, man. It just till this day, and when they retired, Vladimir retired. They
Hmm.
flew the whole team to Austria and their training center up in the mountains. Snow, gorgeous, gorgeous. I just showed
Right.
up to fight. I had the best job in the world, but they went there just to thank us for the weekend for being part of the team, and they gave us some statues about like this that are bronze of both brothers with their championship belts on.
Hmm.
And I was the first one to get it because I was with them the longest. But super, super good kids. But so many of them, man.
Right.
It's the moments when these guys give you a hug, they give you a kiss, and they tell you love you. I
Yeah.
get to say, I like you better than I do somebody else. It's tough to say, but the Klitschko's, Josh Barnett in MMA, when he started fighting in Pride, he
Hmm.
asked me how much I would charge, and I gave him my fees and started going with him, and everybody would want me to wrap their hands, right, like I did in the UFC. Well, the
Hmm.
UFC paid for all that. But Josh says, "Nah, man, I paid to bring this guy over here. If you want to wrap your hands, $500 each." And I make 2,000-3,000 each like this, man. Thank you, Josh. But Fedor, you talking about stories. Fedor Emelianenko, right?
Hmm.
He had just come back from breaking his thumb, and the promoter asked me if I could wrap his hands. And at that point, I mean, he's already the god, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, so I go on there. Like I said, I've worked with Russians before, so I know they're kind of quiet. And so I'm there, I'm wrapping his hands, and okay, open and close and open and close. And we're doing that for how they, okay, okay. So finally I finished wrapping his hands. I said, okay, how do they feel, Fedor? He goes, like this. Super, super. Well, that's all he said. I was the happiest guy around, man. And every time he fought, I always wrapped his hands. But let me show you another momentum that I got.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Let me show you this. What is that? Man, how many guys have let me see here, have a Team Fedor shirt, just
Wow.
with their name on it. Look at this shit.
Only one.
Yeah, well, let me see this. Yeah, look.
Wow.
Yeah, Team Fedor
That's
shirt.
awesome.
Yeah, so the last fight I worked with him in San Jose for Bellator. I come in from the airport and I go into the lobby and he's there
Hmm.
with the team and all that. And he comes up to me and gives me a hug. That's Fedor, right? You don't do that, right? And he says, I have some sweats for you. And he sent a guy up and yeah, gave me these team sweats.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty special. Yeah. Crazy, huh?
For for people that don't know, you are a Hollywood actor in addition to being a famous cut man. Rocky Balboa, Ocean's 11 that you mentioned earlier, all 3 Creed movies, and it seems like there's 1 or 2 more that I can't remember at the moment. What is Hollywood like, man?
Yeah, Here Comes the Boom was one
Okay.
thing, and then
Yep.
the first one is Paid to the Bone with
That's
Woody
right.
Harrelson and Antonio Banderas. I'm the farthest thing from being an actor, but I've been in 7 movies. Actually, I've been in 8. One with Ever Change Almost and Anderson Silva, but that was an independent, so I don't count that one. But yeah, it's been a blessing, and I tell people how many guys have done 3 movies with Rocky. No, I have. Yeah. And how many guys have done 3 movies with Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah.
I have. Woody Harrelson, Antonio Banderas, the Ocean's 11 crew, and there was all kinds of them. And
Yeah.
Matt Damon comes up to me. He says, "Hi, I'm Matt Damon." I said, "Okay, I know." That was cool, man. So yeah, so it's been a blessing.
You still get starstruck by people?
It's I do. Well, I guess Star Trek. I'm more shocked on how they recognize me. And these are all like big names. I mean, Shaq, and one I think Canelo fights one in the back, and I'm in the back, and I'm going by, and he looks at me and says, "Man, I see you everywhere." guys, they come up to me, and I say, "Wow, that's a mind blower."
Yeah.
For me to be in that position, and because basically I started from nothing. I grew up as a farm worker. Where's your show at? Where you're based out of where, Mike G?
I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I am a redneck from Arkansas, man.
Well, shit, I'm a farm worker from the San Joaquin Valley of California. I was born and raised in a migrant camp, right?
Okay.
So I've come from the bottom of the trenches, and so when things like this happen to me, like being called for these movies, it's a mind blower. Working all these fights. I'm still that little Chicano kid that grew up as a farmer. And
you have to pinch yourself.
Never forget my roots. Because I always say, if you don't water your roots, tree ain't gonna grow.
That's true, man.
Take it from
that's
me, I'm
very
a farmer,
true.
right? So, but I think that's one state I haven't done a show at is Arkansas. My wife said, hey, "What? I haven't been to Arkansas, Vermont, but I can understand Vermont, right?" And,
Arkansas has a particular reputation. I think anyone who hasn't been to Arkansas knows that reputation. And there are plenty of places in this state that absolutely fit that reputation. The 2 little counties in the northwest corner where I live every year are in the top 10 in the nation as far as growth. We have Walmart and Tyson Foods based in this county. This part of Arkansas is an awesome place. If you're ever here, I smoke meat at a world champion barbecue restaurant, Stitch, which leads me into my next question. I'm going to ask you a few questions that are basically just pick one or the other questions. I want to get to know you a little bit. Is that all right?
Shoot.
All right. First one, pulled pork or brisket?
Brisket.
Burnt ends or sliced?
Burnt ends.
Very nice. Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson?
I can't pick them. It's like picking you or somebody else. You got to go with Muhammad Ali.
Yep. All right. Back when it should have happened and never did, Anderson Silva versus George St. Pierre.
Ooh, I would have gone Anderson Silva.
Okay, you think he'd have caught him before GSP could take him down?
Yeah, I think so.
That Anderson's fight versus Stephan Bonnar to this day is one of the most incredible artistic fighting expressions I've ever seen. It's one of my favorite things ever.
and then he gave me the way he used to call me Papi. Papi. And actually I did that movie with him and my lookalike Edward James Olmos. That was nice. Yeah. So part of his history.
Yeah. Okay. John Jones versus Francis Ngannou.
I've never seen Francis Ngannou fight, but I got to go with Volk on that one.
You go.
I said it's tough to knock somebody down like that.
The last question like this: Vicente Fernandez or Enrique Iglesias?
Vicente Fernandez.
Very nice. I was turned on to him by a lady I worked with a few years ago, and I don't understand most of what he says, but I love that shit.
Yeah, I used to work with Francois Botha when he fought Mike Tyson. I was doing that for Botha from South Africa. Him and his father loved the mariachi music. And Fernandez, but I remember them. They bought them CDs and took them home. So yeah, it's all chip from music.
Awesome. What is the proudest moment of your life?
Ah, God. Oof. Yeah. Gee, that's a loaded question, bro. I got so many great moments.
What's the first one that popped into your head?
Actually, just having my kids was my first one. I say, yeah, they're pretty damn good. But
I'm there with you, man. I
I got
got two little
inducted
girls.
into, I got inducted into the National Hall of Fame in May, and then this in August 10th, I'm getting inducted into the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. So, man, I got so many good things. I got a documentary coming out of my life, and I'm working on the cannabis line, and I just got cut cream, and just so many things that I'm working on, and then getting ready for a Creed 4 type of thing. So stuff to give
Awesome.
you, and I've just been blessed with so many great opportunities that continue to blow my mind, and they just getting better and better and better. So
That's great, man.
that's kind of crazy, man. How things work.
Fans of yours are happy for you.
Yeah, I get stopped all the time, Mike G. I've been gone from UFC going on 10 years, I think, and people still stop me all over the world
Yeah.
and associate me with the UFC. And I tell them, I've been gone 10 years. Oh, what happened? Oh, yeah, or F Dana, and a lot of respect for you. And it happens all over the world.
Yeah.
And, so, when you do the right things and you do it for these, the benefit of the fighters,
Mm-hmm.
my whole legacy is trying to educate, try to make it a lot easier and safer for these fighters.
Sure.
And, so that's where I'm going to end my career. But see, shit, I mean, a little bit safer, If
Yeah.
anything, just by instructing or educating you on the adrenaline chloride 1000. So,
Who is a fighter that maybe you admired yourself or thought a lot of that you would have liked to have worked with, but didn't
Roberto
get an
Duran.
opportunity
Yeah,
to?
Roberto Duran. Him and Alexis Arguello from Nicaragua. Two very, very good. But Roberto Duran, and that's my last name, of course. And I was doing, Zab Judah was fighting Costa Zoo at the Mandalay Bay, Vegas. And we're walking into the lobby with my friends, and Roberto Duran's coming out of the restroom. He comes up to me and gives me a hug and tells me in Spanish, "Hey, man, I'm so proud of the way you're representing the raza, and this and that, and this and that. And, hey, thanks. And he leaves, and my friend says, Roberto Duran. I said, yeah, Roberto Duran. So moments like that are they're priceless.
What do you think is the greatest boxing match in history? If you had to pick one.
Too many, man. Too many.
Too many?
I've seen slugfest for 12 rounds from start to finish, and I don't know. That's tough to say, man. It's
Gotcha.
too many great fights. Yeah.
How about round? Could you pick the best round in boxing history?
Well, the Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler round was a pretty classic round.
Okay, that's the most common answer.
Yeah. That's good. They went at it toe to toe, And,
yeah,
and don't happen that often. But that just gives you the insight of the mind of a fighter to go out there and do what they do. I did a film like 23 years ago called Boxer's Nightmare, and I interviewed Eddie Muhammad. I said, what he says, he goes, the ultimate goal of a fighter is to render his opponent unconscious, and that's to knock him out. That's the best victory. But knockouts create long-term damage. But my point is, psychologically, you guys are gladiators, man. Just to get in there and hit each other and love it. I worked with one guy, Rod, back when I was working with amateurs at Oakland years ago, and he said, "Man, I love boxing." He's getting hit. He's in the corner. Man, I love boxing. He said, I think, oh, shit, man, can't take that away from him.
If you could change anything about combat sports, what would you change?
Well, in MMA, I would change the coming down on the fighter once a guy's knocked out. That I think that's when a fighter is defenseless, and you as an athlete should understand and give him that respect factor by pulling back. And pulling back would also indicate to the referee that that he's knocked out. So now, so I would do away with that. But even in boxing, guys, there's so many things in boxing that have to be changed, like stacking in boxing. Are you familiar with wrapping, hand wrapping? Okay,
not a lot.
Okay, so stacking is when you have gauze and tape and gauze and tape. Normally, the basic foundation of 9 out of 10 guys when they wrap hands they'll use the whole roll of gauze to wrap first, and then they'll go with tape. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But stacking is gauze, then you put tape, then you roll more gauze tape, gauze tape. So it's layered. So
Okay.
it's outlawed in so many states. But what happened when Canelo fought Triple G here in Vegas, Triple G's team filed a complaint that Canelo was stacking gauze and tape and gauze and tape. So his management team are the same management team for the Klitschko's. So when
Mm-hmm.
Tom Loeffler called me, because he knows I know how to rap, I know about rapping hands. He asked me what I thought, and I said, it's bullshit. I said, the only reason you wrap a fighter's hands is so a fighter don't break his hand. He said, well, Abe Sanchez says it was like a cast. I said, man, Tom, you know how many times I've wrapped the fighter's hands and they tell me that it feels like a cast? That's what you want to create. The rule book says the tape has to be 1 inch away from the knuckles down. As long as you apply that, what difference is you use the same amount of gauze, same amount of tape, it's on technique. So in doing that, Bob Bennett, the head of the Athletic Commission here in Nevada, called me with the same question because they wanted that second fight here. That's his bullshit. And Triple G, I work with Triple G, and I think it's bullshit. So I met Bob Bennett at a local gym here, and I wrapped his hands conventional way in stacking, and he didn't feel that much of a difference. I said, no, there's not. It's all education. But the next day he brought in a hand specialist just to verify. And I did the same thing with him. And he didn't feel that much of a difference. I said, no, there's not. It's stupid. It's a myth. And those rules are made by people that don't know the actual facts. Well, long story short, stacking is allowed in Nevada. So, but there's a lot of situations everybody has to be on board, and it's a shame that there's not a pension plan or insurance plan and anything like that, at this day and age. So
I've interviewed a couple guys, Gary Goodrich, Spencer Fisher, guys that could really be benefiting these days from some long-term health care for what they did with their bodies for organizations.
Well, both Goodrich and Spence, I've worked with Spence many times, and I talked to him. He's not good with short-term memory, but he's good with long-term. So I called him, and man, we just kind of rekindled. He's in North Carolina or something like that. But my daughter Carla and Rose Gracie, one of the Gracies, they're working with a group on that type of thing, CTE and all that. As a matter of fact, just last week, she was in Louisville for the ABC convention, and she spoke on behalf of the ringside physicians on CTE and all that. But Spence and Goodrich, they both go through this dementia CTE stuff. So so much has to be done to protect these fighters.
Yeah, they've both. When I started researching each one of them for their interviews, I started years back, and I wanted to include the CTE in the interview, and they were nice enough to talk about it. If you listen to their speech, say 7 years ago, compared to now, I told them both, whatever doctors you're working with, whatever regiment you're on, their speech is much better now than it was just a few years ago. So that at least is exciting in that there's some sort of treatments or medications out there right now that are helping.
I didn't know that. Good. That's good to know.
Gary's speech is much better. In fact, he now has his own YouTube channel, is putting out professional content, training people, helping people, even in the park.
I've seen him on social media, but I didn't know that he was doing that. And but, and that's the thing about it is now that I noticed what was happening with boxing then is now happening to MMA fighters. Everything from the legalities of proper management to dehydration to everything, to diet to everything. There's to contracts to everything. It's it's a crazy sport.
I have just a couple more questions for you, then I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of your evening. When you are not fixing cuts, teaching the next generation, acting in Hollywood, hanging out with the Klitschko's, what do you do for fun?
My wife says I'm lazy. I just, you know what? I'm a pretty low key guy, man. It's just I've been blessed to be traveling and restaurant food. I have it up to here. Hotels. So that's I prefer staying home, eating a good home cooked meal, and sit back and watch TV do whatever I want, and but I'll do it once a week or once every 2 weeks. I'll go make a gym run here in Vegas. I'll go to Bones Adams gym, and I'll go to Salas's gym, and I'll go to Mayweather's gym, and I'll go to DLX boxing, and then I'll finish up at Top Rank, and I might even go to Randy's gym. So I just hang out,
Okay.
do this, just shoot the shit with the guys, and say hi to everybody, and tell my wife I'll be back, go make a gym run. That's it.
Sounds like an awesome life, man.
Yeah. I'm blessed to be doing what I do, and I thank God every day that I'm in this position because it's been a journey.
That's awesome. As I told you earlier, the main reason I do these interviews is trying to inspire people who may be struggling in life. Um, I'm sure you've seen your fair share of struggles and plenty of others in your line of business. If you could share a message about not giving up, keeping hope, and continuing on with the people watching this, what would your message be, Stitch?
That's a good question, Mike G. I This is the way I look at life. I look at life as everything is a yin and a yang, up and down, positive and negative. So whatever negativity is coming your way, you got to bear with it because eventually it's going to go into the good side. And even now, I mean, shit, I'm out there working on the yard, and there's little pieces of garbage that I don't have to pick up, but the discipline, I know that I should do it. Then I go out there and do it just as a discipline factor. But yeah, we all struggle and we all go through the yin and the yangs. But
Yeah.
if you learn to accept, and that's why one of my sponsors gave me the nickname "One More Round." People think it's my company, but it was one of my apparel companies that they created that when they saw Rocky. Rocky told his son, "Oh, I got to go that one more round." But he thought, you know what, that makes sense because everybody, you can't quit. You gotta, when you're at that position, you gotta always think, I gotta go one more round. And how many times have you gone that one more round and became victorious, right? So yeah, don't be scared of failure, man. It's part of the game, and as long as you don't leave it there, you're okay. But yeah, listen, it blows my mind every day. I'm this little guy that, why me?
Yeah.
But I love it, King, because just being consistent, and then man, not screwing people, and
Yeah.
not just not my nature and giving back. And there's a couple examples that I'll leave you with before and then we'll do a show again, man. You do a good show. But
Sure. Thank you, man.
there's a couple people that were instrumental of guiding me through where I'm at right now, and one of them was on the negativity, but I turned into a positive. So at my school of kickboxing, Bone Crusher Smith fought Marvis Frazier, the son of Joe Frazier in Richmond, California. So I went to the fights, and I was learning to be a cutman at that time. And this guy did a good job of winning the earlier fights. And I went up to him. I said, "Hey, look, I'm trying to learn to be a cutman. Can you tell me what you did?" And he says, "Fuck you. I'm taking this to my grave, and you got to learn like me." And he walked away. So I said, "Man, I'm never going to be like this man." And I've done this interview hundreds of times. Never once have I mentioned his name because it's not even important. Now I go back to Andre Ward, and Andre's the undisputed champ, and we're both from Oakland, and now him and his son want to take a picture with me. I said, "All right, because of you, I'm not like you." And then another one was the Philadelphia Eagles, Randall Cunningham. We did a kickboxing show here, and Vitaly Klitschko fought out. Actually, he was a kickboxer. He fought Big Brad Efton, and I was with Dennis Alexio. But after the fights, we're talking to Randall Cunningham, and I'm Jacob. I'm not even Stitch at this point. And my three brothers were all there talking to Randall Cunningham, and this guy comes up to him, "Hey, Randall, come here, man. Let me introduce you to this guy." He says, "Hold on. He goes, let me finish talking to these guys." Well, Mike G, I never felt so important in my life. And he's a pastor here in Vegas, right? And I've done this story hundreds of times, but I've never run into him. And my brother says, "Oh, you got to go to his church." I said, "Nah, I'll run into him somehow, and I'll let him know that story. I don't want to go up to him, 'Hey, man, you changed my life.'" But just want to be, so that's why I always give back. I always give back. There's a lot of room on top, bro. And everybody gets up there because they struggle. So keep it in mind, man. Give it up. but let's do it again. You know, good show. And
Thank you.
you know,
Thank you very much. How can what's the best way for your fans, friends, family, people that love Stitch Duran to keep up with you and follow you?
yeah, at Stitch Duran.
Okay.
Pretty simple. But then also, I just want to reinforce that video. I encourage everybody to get it at stitchduran.com. It's called "Giving the
Okay.
Fighter One More Round," and but it's
Awesome.
not education. That's all it is.
Awesome.
All right, my man. Well, if I ever
Awesome.
make it to Arkansas, expect some of that smoked meat you got there, huh?
Yes, sir. I will hook you up. It'll be on the house, and I'll send you a box to go too.
Yeah, boy, I can imagine what the people on the plane would be saying, huh? With the smell, you know.
Oh man, they'd be loving you.
Yeah, I know they would. That's my problem. You know, I'd be picking up the bones, man. So, all right, my G. Well, good luck, man. All the
All
best.
right, Stitch.
All right.
Thank you very much. It was a blessing to have you on the channel. I will forever be a huge fan of yours, and maybe I'll hit you up another time after a big fight or something, and we'll talk about it.
Anytime, bro. I tell you, I'm not that guy. And you know, and I always think about Emmanuel Stewart. And you know, I worked with Emmanuel for 8 years
Hmm.
with Vladimir, right? But
Yeah.
I used to call with the radio show called the 13th Round here in Las Vegas. I came
Hmm.
in as a guest, and you know, 10 years later, I left. You know, because I was so busy. But yeah, but he never turned me down on an interview.
That's
And
awesome.
so you know, and that was nobody. You know, so that's the kind of guy Emmanuel Stewart was, and you know, kind of want to be like him. So,
Treat people the way you want to be treated. It still
100%.
applies.
So easy to do, bro. That's the yin of the yang, right? That's the
Yep.
positive. You get that
Yeah.
energy, and everything's based on energy. You know,
Hmm.
when you
Yep.
feel it, you feel
All
it.
right, Stitch.
All right, God bless, my man.
Have a good one, sir. Take care of yourself.
Adios. Bye bye.
Bye bye.